What's going on, everybody? My name is Jake with Code 4 Defense, and today we are out here on the range talking about the AREX Delta Gen 2. This is the M frame. There are 3 different sizes in this handgun series. The M frame, which is essentially the same size as a Glock 19, just a slightly thinner width on this handgun. The L frame, which is the same size as a Glock 17, and then you have the X frame, which is the same slide length as this slide right here, but the same grip length as the full-size handgun. Kind of more of a something that's become more popular within the last several years, the X series handguns, essentially. Full disclosure on this guy, I don't get paid or endorsed or anything like that to bring you this review or showcase this handgun. We manufacture holsters at our company, and so I get these guns in frequently to do 3D scans of to make our molds. And so I just wanted to start showcasing them since we get, like I said, quite a few of these things through the shop. This handgun I purchased through Rainier Arms, which is one of the importers from Slovenia where the AREX is manufactured. And on that note, I know it sounds weird, handgun coming from Slovenia or something like that. You might have kind of an odd picture in your mind of that, but I can assure you that the manufacturing quality on this thing is absolutely top-notch. And if you're interested, check out TFB TV. They did a full review on it and actually get a tour of the AREX factory. And like I said, it is state-of-the-art. No worries from that standpoint whatsoever. This handgun is chambered in 9mm. I've got a little over 500 rounds in it right now. Nothing too crazy, but enough to give you my first impression of it. So without further ado, we'll get into the review. All right, so we're going to start from top to bottom, working left to right on the Delta M frame. As you can see on the top here, it's got full metal front and rear sights. The front sight is a white dot, while the rear sight is just blacked out rear. So it's got a white dot with a blacked out rear. And the sight picture that you get on this thing is absolutely fantastic from a iron sight point of view. They sit very low to the firearm, so they don't stand out too much for drawing or something like that. The front face of the rear sight right there is very nice and flat for one-handed manipulations if you needed to rack the slide from your handgun, or excuse me, from your holster, or if you need to get off your boot or something crazy like that. It makes it very nice for getting a good purchase on whatever surface you have to do your manipulation with. Continuing, the handgun has a loaded chamber indicator, which is right here on the top, and I believe that this is actually the extractor as well. So when this thing is up or protruding away from the firearm, you can tell that it's loaded. On that note, it's also got a priming indicator on the rear of the slide. And so when the slide is fully racked, you can see a red dot showing that the hammer, or excuse me, the firing pin is essentially ready to fire or in its slightly compressed state. With that said, this handgun's actually a double action striker fired pistol. So unlike a traditional striker fired where when you rack the slide, it captures the firing pin and then the trigger sear allows that firing pin to fall forward. On this one, it just slightly compresses the spring, making the double action pull easier. And so it actually fully compresses the firing pin as you pull the trigger and allows it to go. So it's a true double action pistol. It just feels like a single action striker fired pistol, just about like any other that you've felt in the past. Moving back even further, the handgun comes cut standard for optics, and it's got multiple mounting bases, essentially anything that you could want for mounting your firearm, or excuse me, mounting your optic to your firearm. It comes with anything from Armor to Leopold to Shield. It even has footprints for the smaller red dot options, so like the Holosun 507K, Shield Arm SE, and the Swamp Fox Sentinel will mount directly to it as well, which is a pretty cool option if you are interested in carrying this concealed, since it's just a slightly smaller optic or footprint of it. The one that I've got mounted up for y'all in this review is the Swamp Fox Justice. It's the 27mm or the larger version of their new series of red dots, and I'll have a full review of the Swamp Fox Justice coming out soon, but I can tell you right now, the thing is just amazing. It works great. Continuing down the firearm, we've got the polymer frame on it. It's got a full Picatinny rail up front there for mounting any modern light, handgun, laser, anything like that will mount right up to it very nicely. It's got the frame itself has extremely nice stippling all along the contact surfaces for your hand. And it's actually, if you can tell or not, got these little accelerator cuts. I guess that's the only thing that I can liken them to. But they allow you to get a very, very nice handgun grip so that you can get your thumb far up in there and actually get kind of a bite into the frame. So when you're running this thing pretty hard, you can get a nice good purchase on the grip with your thumb and allow for a little bit better recoil mitigation. Continuing down the the frame here, we've got ambidextrous slide stops or slide releases, and they're actually pretty low profile. So for concealed carry, not going to have any issues with snagging coming out of your holster through your garment or anything like that. But they're nice enough that you can work the slide with just your thumb without having to do anything too crazy or anything like that. Again, they're ambidextrous right out of the box. You don't have to do anything crazy. It just works both sides of the handgun without any issue whatsoever. The slide release is also fully ambidextrous without having to do any switching of it or anything like that. It just works ambidextrous right out of the box, and the magazines drop free really nicely. The trigger on the handgun, again, it's actually a double action trigger, but I would say that it feels like any other striker fired trigger that I felt in the past. It's got a very defined wall on it, so it's got a very short take up. That's the full length of the take up right there, and then it's got no creep in the trigger whatsoever. So it essentially just has a clean break. That's the reset on it. Very short, very tactile, very nice reset. Allows you to be very quick with the handgun, so doing rapid shots or quick follow-up shots on target, not an issue whatsoever with this handgun. Continuing down again, very nice stippling throughout the entire frame. On the rear of the handle right there, you have the palm swell, and this is actually adjustable. You just take out the screw, pull it out, and then you can put adjustable palm swells. So if you got a bigger hand or anything like that, you can adjust the width of the grip to get a better purchase on the handgun for yourself. The magazine well is slightly flared, making for reloads quite a bit easier, faster. It's nothing too crazy by any means, but it is enough that it makes reloads very, very quick and easy. Speaking of the magazines, inside of the box you get 2 magazines. The one is a 15-round magazine for the M series, and it essentially fits flush to the bottom of the handgun. About that length, nothing too crazy for sticking out or anything like that. Enough to get a purchase on if you need to strip the magazine for a double feed or something like that. The 17-round magazine fits just slightly longer than the frame, but nothing too crazy by any means. For 17 rounds, just that +2 base plate. It's not overly long or anything, and it works very well for the handgun. Keeps the package nice and small. The magazines are constructed out of metal. They have orange followers on them, making if you go to slide stop, it's extremely easy to see if you've ran out of ammo, if there's some other malfunction or something like that. It's got cutouts in the rear of the magazine, which allow for round count, so you can see how many rounds you have or don't have left. And we've had absolutely no issues with these magazines. We've got, again, about 500 rounds through the gun and haven't had any malfunctions, jams, issues whatsoever. I haven't had any complaints that I can think of whatsoever with the magazines. All right, final thoughts on the AREX Delta M frame. I think that this is a very good quality handgun for the money that you're paying. I paid around 430, I think, for this handgun, 450, something like that. And I can tell you right now, the features that you get for a $450 handgun are very impressive right out of the box. You get 2 magazines, cut for an optic, full metal sights, ambidextrous controls, great stippling pattern, very comfortable gun. It it does everything that it should, and for 450 bucks, we'll say it's a great value for the money. I think it would be perfect for everyday carry, home defense, things like that. I don't think I would take it into a tactical environment or something a little more rigorous, just because it doesn't have quite the history that a lot of the other modern combat handguns have. That said, though, this thing is a very solid shooter. It's got a great trigger on it for the price. It functions very well. I haven't had any jams, malfunctions. I haven't had any issues with this thing through all the rounds that I put through it. And the size of it, the fact that it's slightly thinner than a Glock 19, while being essentially roughly the same length and height as a Glock 19, makes it very nice for concealed carry. And just as an overall package, I would say that I'm very impressed with the Delta Gen 2, especially the M frame. If you have any questions, be sure to comment down below. I'll see what I can answer for you. As always, stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the next one.